Be Next Anime, aka Brand. This episode 58 of the Anime Dojo. I'm alongside Chris and Deon. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Doing all right, bro. How about you?
Doing well, can't
Sir.
complain. We have a couple things to get into. We have two shows that are gonna have different contrasts with different groups of people. The Batman anime that's coming out or in the works, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. We'll talk about both of those. We also have the charts to get through. My kind of review of what's going on with My Hero Academia, which I'm gonna talk about. It's kind of getting interesting. I have to give him credit for this. Then we'll go through Slime, episode 57, and Kaiju number 8, episode 8. That's sad that rhymed, but it did rhyme. I'll give it to them. But first, let me get into this. I'll get into my review of My Hero Academia. I'll make this really short, not too long, kind of short and quick. Ultimately, with this last episode really does a good thing about our traitor that we finally figured out. But Belly Button Guy, he finally gets to be the he finally, after going to jail, he gets out of jail. But the way he gets out of jail is because, one, they need his help and they're going to use him as a decoy. Two, he talks to one of our former a character we haven't seen in a while. From we saw last episode, we fully get to see him this episode, which is the guy that has the weird eye power. And three, that the rest of the students are behind him, including Deku. And he wants to help Deku now. So basically, this episode kind of builds a couple things. One, we get to figure out by talking to the guy with the special eye power that, hey, you did something wrong. That's not a bad thing. You're still a hero. You're still behind. Everybody's still behind you. You can do, make this good. And he's surprised that he's telling him this because I'm still your teacher. I still care about y'all. I care about all my students. Even though you made a mistake, that's not your fault. Things happen for, bad things happen for a reason, but you can always make up for them. I kind of love this conversation because this conversation basically proves to me that our teacher from the teacher that's in jail still has care for students and still understands that they are students. They're going to make mistakes no matter what happens. Ultimately, also, this gives the Belly Button Guy confidence about what he's going to be do next. Then we kind of see Deku and all of them get their new digs at the school because they leave UA because they don't want to hurt the other people and go to this new campus. Deku and the girl that can do gravity start talking and kind of talk about what's been going on, and she says why Deku finally thanks her for bringing the courage to tell people he can stay at UA and all this stuff, which is really good. I have to give him credit for that. Then the other big thing about this middle section is that you feel that they're kind of getting love interest to each other. Both of them, Gravity Girl and Deku. I think they've always cared about each other. This is the first time I think you really can tell that they super care about each other. But also, this brings back a character we've talked about, which is I think it's Tamako is her name. It's the one that can take blood from other people and use their power when she uses their blood. She kind of gets, the Gravity Girl talks about her and what she saw against her and how, that all changed a lot of things. But also, we see her at her old house thinking about what happened in her life. And you've seen her backstory. Her backstory is probably one of the saddest backstories in the show, one of the saddest. Shigaraki is the other one. I appreciate they gave her more, human like elements of like, yeah, I wasn't the best kid, but my parents didn't really help me with that either and try to, make me better. But she still, fond memories about the house. We see the Blue Fire guy, that's Endeavor's other son, that's also evil. He comes there, he kind of tells her, why are you thinking about these memories? Why do you care? And he basically burns the house right in front of her face. She pulls up a blood of vial of blood, which is the vial of the guy that can make multiple copies of himself that passed away in earlier season 6. And that was really cool to kind of see that come back into play. The last really thing we hear is that All For One is going to have the crocodile dude be the head of this new army, and ultimately, and he wants him to be the new army because he wants to see they can create people. He's more of that face that they need. Ultimately, what ends up happening, Belly Button Guy does call All For One. The parents call and they say, "Hey, we have the special wine you wanted, all the stuff we're bringing to you tomorrow." Ultimately, drawing him out. That draws him out, but then Belly Button Guy betrays All for One, and go sides with Deku. But then as Belly Boy tries to shoot one of his lasers at All for One, misses, but all these other villains come out of the smoke. Well, on the flip side, we have all these other heroes come out of the smoke. So we're about to get to a clash, a battle, but this battle's not going to be the last battle. This is going to be a smaller battle. Don't know where it's headed. I like the idea of like we're going to have a small battle, what's going to happen in it, but ultimately it's kind of a weird situation because I don't think we're still in the end game as most people are talking about, but we also are building up to that end game. We're still building to the end game. If I had to give this episode a rating, I would say it's like a 7.5, 7.5, 8. So I would give it more than 8. I'll give it more than 7.5. I don't think it's not super great. It's not bad. I think it's right in that it's above average, middle ground, but it's getting to where I think it'll be the 8.5 on average most of the time. Chris, am I far off base with this episode? Because this episode was really good, but it still feels like it's building a lot.
Okay, so they have been cooking for the last what? If you add the extra 4 episodes, they've been cooking for quite some time.
They have.
So with that being said, it's like they have a lot of things to cover in order to tie up all the loose ends that they have. From having as many seasons as they have, they're trying to wrap up, they're trying to conclude things. Now, for them to come out into an all-out battle for this, it's different because all of them are going after All for One, and then but we still, even though Shigaraki is there, something seemed off about the fight in general to me. But maybe we'll see some more come in the upcoming week.
And I will say this: I will give My Hero Academia their credit, even though I think the 4 episodes prior to the season starting were all recap stuff. I think this has helped tie those loose ends, and they did it last episode. They kind of pretty much told you, "Oh, remember this from when this happened?" And they kind of when they first showed up the trader, which is the belly button guy. Here's all the things that's happened in prior seasons that connect to this. I think that was good, but ultimately, also, I think you're gonna have to keep doing that a little bit to give people understanding of what's really going on. And I also agree because Deon said it a couple weeks ago. He mentioned the fact his daughter has read ahead, and he kind of looked at it himself. We're getting to a point where we're going to have the big battles and stuff. So we're getting to that point. It just has to get there. And I think the thing is with this story, it's the other way around. I think I like where the heroes are going. The heroes are going well. The villains are the ones I'm kind of like they need to build the villains up more because the villains have no the villains really have no purpose yet outside of like the crocodile dude becoming the face and everything. I think the villains need to be built up more, which they're doing with Tamaki, who can do the blood stuff. They're building up with Endeavor's other son, so they're kind of doing those small things. Chris, what would you rate this last episode of My Hero that just came out?
I'm going to give it a 7.6.
Okay, so you're close around me. I'm going to ask why. Just kind of
because they still have a lot of things that they need to go over, and then seeing them jump into this big battle right off the bat, when knowing we still have 20-something episodes, where
yeah, we have a lot of episodes left.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what are y'all really trying to do with this show right now?
Yeah, I at this point we're at the end of the spring season. We only have 4 episodes left for most shows now. At this point, I would probably keep everything the same. Keep Kaiju, keep Slime, because Slime's hitting hard right now. That's kind of like a weird thing. And Kaiju's doing really, really good. Kaiju's done probably really well of just getting to the point they're at now and really building off that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that, Deon. I know. We'll get to the episode tonight because we're gonna explain that. I know. I do understand. I mean, yeah, you're very good about being skeptical about that, so I get it. I do get it. But let's get into this. There's a new Batman anime coming out. It is called Batman versus the Yotsuka League or Yotsuka League. We don't get a release date. We don't really get much anything else. this seems like a very weird. How can I say this? Cash grab by WB. But yet I don't really understand why you're making a Batman movie after Batman anime after you're making Suicide Squad in July, coming out in July. Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to just put a bunch of properties out there? It, and why are you fighting the Yakuza? The other thing I'm kind of like, what? Like, it doesn't feel like a good thing. Like, he doesn't kill, so what's the point of finding the Yakuza? I mean, I digress. Chris, am I way off base here? What do you think about the chance we're getting this show anyway? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think it's a bad idea? Do you think it's actually going to be decent?
I don't, man. Look, I usually try to give a lot of shows a lot of different skepticisms and maybe the benefits of the doubt. But when you talking about Batman into an anime, when it's already been made into an anime a few times and it's so recent, it's like why?
What was the
And
most?
no, I'm not done yet. And then because of the premise and the show and what the pictures that I've seen are all from the movie that they made a few years ago. So
I was
again, what are you really doing here?
I was gonna ask, what was the most recent Batman anime thing? I don't keep up. I mean, I
Well,
keep up with
Batman
anime.
well,
Ninja.
what you say?
Batman Ninja.
So why are we getting
That's
Batman? But this is called Batman Ninja. This is called Batman
See,
Ninja versus Yakuza League.
I'm curious if this is just a continuation, like if this is a part two to that one,
In
because it
the
was like a Yakuza League in that one. 'Cause they all had like little mechs and armies and stuff they're fighting. It it was just I don't know. It
ba-
was weird. I don't know why
based
they make another.
based on this, it feels like they are either taking, like you say, a show or movie that's been done already and just taking the Batman part of it and the Yakuza part of it and making a show based off that. Why? I don't know. And
I guess it's
then
as good as mine.
the other crazy thing about it is like, what's next? Are you gonna do a Superman anime? Are we gonna get the Birds of Prey? Are we getting Poison Ivy? Like, I don't.
Yeah, Birds of Prey has to come next. If Suicide Squad does well, Birds of Prey comes next.
Yep, I
Okay,
agree with that.
okay. I'll ask Chris this then. I'll ask you as well, Deon. If that's the case, is WB just saying we're gonna throw all our properties out to the front of the table, all in, and go? We're gonna throw them all out there. We're gonna make animes for them. Whichever ones hit, we'll keep doing them. Whichever ones don't, are gonna be dropped.
That's
Is
pretty much what Disney was doing.
I think it just depends too, though, on what we consider to be a flop, because the
yeah,
numbers may do good, the views may do good, because people are interested into seeing how bad something is gonna be. But then all the reviews might be bad. So
but it's funny. There's such thing as saying it is so bad it is still good. The thing
Not,
is,
not,
but yes, but even then, anime is kind of hard when you do
Smash.
that. Anime is hard when you do that because anime can't be so bad that it's good because it's eventually just going to be just terrible, not worth watching after a long period of time. I hope. I don't know. I'm hoping it's okay. Ultimately, if Suicide Squad does well, I can think we see Birds of Prey. I agree with you on that. Birds of Prey would be next on the list. Outside of that, I wouldn't care about anything else in the DC universe really that much.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
go for it.
Since we're getting into this DC universe thing, what makes the difference in a DC universe anime, which is pretty much something I don't know what we could call the first. Maybe Batman Ninja would be the only anime that I could compare it to
I
versus
think
the
y'all
reg.
are missing. Go ahead, my bad.
Go ahead.
So y'all are missing it wasn't a Batman movie, but Batman was made into a animated or anime character in Ruby.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
and
that's right.
that was Justice League. So the Justice
Yeah.
League Batman and the actual Batman are two different Batmans to me. Like they might as well be named something completely different.
Wow.
To each their own there.
Yeah.
But that's my point though. What is the difference between that and the regular DC Universe animated series type stuff?
I think it's if you're asking me, I think it's the year that you first saw Batman.
But I mean, like right now, right? Why create anime versions of your characters that are already pretty strong in the animation field? Like, what's the premise to making an anime? Why not
Here's the
just keep
thing.
it as
Content.
animated series? Like Justice League was amazing.
Here's the
I
thing. With
think
something
content.
is
I'm
well,
sorry.
content's no, you're good. Content's one, but with something we've already talked about earlier in this earlier episodes of this podcast. Where do you draw the line between cartoon and anime?
There it is. There it
Exactly.
Because
is.
because Justice League is also is considered a cartoon under U.S. rules and under most rules for television.
Right.
But you can't transfer the Justice League into an anime because it doesn't. It really would be kind of weird because then you have to change the character looks somewhat.
But
You'd have to change.
have you seen Young Justice?
Yes,
That's an
there,
anime.
but also Teen Titans Go is considered under anime rules
Mm,
somewhat. Not a great amount, but
That's Pokemon.
yeah,
yeah.
fair. It it's you're trying, and I think that's the other conversation we've had before, which is also kind of sad to me. You're trying to appeal to the fans that don't watch anime. Why? Because Batman's iconic, one of the iconic characters in DC lore. If you told me you're going to make a Superman anime based on how Superman came to be and all that kind of stuff, I'd be like, "What's worth watching?" I've seen everything from the Justice League, or I've seen stuff when they've done Superman as an animated cartoon. It it, it feels like they want to make sure they can have, as Al said, their cake and eat it too. They want to be in both markets. Ultimately, if this hits in the US but doesn't hit anywhere else, I'm okay with that. They would be okay. I wouldn't be okay with it. They would be okay with it because it's actually doing well in the one place they should do well in the US. But the sad part is if it does terrible in the US but does okay around the world, what does it say about the US? Because the US doesn't usually, it's the US born, it's like a US character. It it also goes back to something we've also talked about as well. I asked you boys, did you think the Rick and Morty anime could do well? And what y'all both tell me? No, Rick and Morty is Rick and Morty. You can't change.
Wait. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
It's not that I don't think it can do well. I don't think it should do well.
That's the thing. It shouldn't. It should not do well, but it probably will based on the fan base. Here's the other problem with this, and y'all both know this. Y'all watch more anime than me. Batman is Batman. It's one of the most iconic characters from the superhero genre. I have the Iron Man anime up on my shelf right over here by me. It's not great. It's okay. It's based in Japan. Like it's the plot is based in Japan. Does it work? Yeah. Is it kind of cheesy? Yeah. But it ultimately does work. If it works enough, they will keep it around.
That's like that Wolverine anime. I actually really like that in comparison to a lot of the superhero animes.
Hmm.
But here's the thing, you take somebody like Batman, who has a huge following, and you make it good, yeah. But if you're just making it to make content, just leave it. Like, I, I, I really still don't understand the point of making an animated series in anime. I don't get it.
like Chris said, content.
But
all it's
but even then, like that's like
That's
taking a
bad.
picture
That's bad.
and then just taking the same picture but changing the filter. Like it's the same picture.
So I'll ask you both this gentleman this because y'all have more anime experience than me. When they did the first Dragon Ball, and then they did Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Kai, I can go down the list. And I'll ask for Chris for this first. What do you think about when they made the other version? Did you like the fact they kept going with the other version, or did you want them to stop after?
So, okay, this was definitely a personal thing because when it comes to Dragon Ball, at the end of Z, I watched GT, but as soon as I heard that it wasn't canon, I stopped watching it.
Oh my god.
Not to say that I didn't finish it, but it's just like I at that point when as a kid when I watched it, I felt betrayed.
Yeah.
But when a Sagarao Super came back, I was like, okay, here we go. And I was more excited with that.
I still feel like Super Saiyan, is it 4 is the best? Super Saiyan.
The only other reason I bring this up is because think about that. Think about the fact that Dragon Ball has so many versions. Think about that Bleach has so many versions. Think about Brotherhood, or not Brotherhood. What's the Full Metal Alchemist? Excuse me.
Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah.
Has so many versions.
Brotherhood is the only real version.
Like One Piece is continuing on for as long as it has, and it has different arcs. But we're about to get the remake of One Piece without all the filler eventually. So it is a thing where I think there is a line. How far that line is, I don't know. Would I one day want to see? Would I one day want to see the Avengers as a anime? No. Would I think if they did it, would it be a bad thing? No. But you have to kind of balance the line. Do you just want to put a new, like Deon said, new coat of paint on a existing animation and just make it more animated? Like, yeah, fine. I'm not gonna be too mad, but it has to be decent. So I'm gonna ask for this from both of y'all. What is your hype level for this show? And when it comes out, will you be watching? Deon, I'll start off with you for that. Or Chris,
Okay,
I'll start with you.
so
yeah.
Sorry, she kind of went off. There's a contingency clause to my hype level. Stop, baby.
Okay, so here's a contingency.
If it's a continuation of Batman Ninja, I'm good with that.
Okay.
If it's something completely different and you're just chasing content, then it's a problem, and I don't really care to see that.
Okay. Okay.
At least you've already done this, and it was done first before the Harley Quinn Suicide Squad stuff. So I could see you already having that in the works and planned on releasing it, before Suicide Squad even really got up and running. So I'll give you that.
Okay. Chris, do you kind of agree with Deon there? Same type of thing?
Okay, let me be honest with you. I'm not excited for it at all.
Okay, fair enough.
But I will do it just like I give every other show.
A chance.
If it doesn't wow me by that third or fourth episode, bruh, you can get dropped like every other anime.
Okay. Do you think what Deon was saying? Do you think if it's something spin-off from the movie, do you think that's better, or do you think if it's just a continuation of what the movie did, do you think that's better or worse?
Well, because I don't think it's going to be a continuation. No.
Okay.
I don't. Now it will be a pleasant surprise if it is, but my gut feeling is saying no.
No. Okay. That's fair. That is fair. Yeah. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, because
I'm reading comments right now, And it seems like it's supposed to be a sequel to the 2018 movie, which was Batman Ninja.
Okay, if it's a sequel to the 2018 movie, then Chris's
That's
point.
just fan gossip. So
Yeah,
done
there's
my
no there's no official thing what they're saying how they're gonna do this. with
yeah,
that.
that's definitely the popular consensus in these. I'm looking on Reddit, even just Instagram. It all just says like it's supposed to be a continuation.
So if it's a
Which
continuation of the
now
movie,
it makes it make sense. But if
yeah,
it's not, then yeah, I'm with Chris. Garbage, scratch it. Don't even think about doing another one.
I think if the continuation of the movie, that's cool. Like Chris said, I agree with you. I agree with you, Donnie. What Chris said makes sense. If it's not and it's just something brand new and doesn't really work, then I'll drop it immediately after a couple of like 3 episodes. Like I don't really watch superhero stuff anyway. Outside of Shy,
Like,
that's one.
like you have to understand, like when it comes to watching this Batman show, somebody actually has to convince me to watch it in order to give me those first 3 episodes. That's where I'm at with it.
Correct. Not like
So you basically are where I'm at with Avatar live action. I still haven't watched, by the way.
Well, yeah,
And One Piece live action, to be fair.
Also fair enough.
At least we know where we both stand. We're on the opposite ends of the whole
spectrum.
thing.
Yep.
That's funny. It's like one show I'll give 0 chances. The next one, Chris gives 0 chances, but we're flipped.
Now let's get into this other show because this other show is iconic just because the character. We are getting Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft in October. By the way,
this I'm excited for.
coming out from Netflix, which is interesting. Netflix is taking the Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think Netflix is going to do it some justice.
So excited if it wasn't Netflix.
Oh, we'll come back to that. We will come back to that because I want to dive into that. That's funny. That's interesting. I will say this based on the news article I saw and the low write up for it. It is a continuation of the video games, the trilogy of video games. The last video game that was I think it's look the name Shadow of the Tomb Raider. The storyline is of Shadow of the Tomb Raider, so that's the last game in the trilogy of games.
And that's what I think it's going to do with.
So the new Lara Croft.
Correct, not the old, not the old.
The best Lara Croft, but the new Lara Croft.
Well, yeah.
The Jolie Lara Croft.
Not the newest Lara Croft.
No, but the middle version.
Yeah, the middle
version. Like jumping over rocks and shooting bows and arrows, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that version.
Which is supposed to be the true Tomb Raider.
Correct. I've played all the games for myself. I love all the games. I have a slight cause for pause. Only because how are you continuing that story from Shadow of the Tomb Raider that last game? Because the way it ended doesn't really give you a reason to continue it unless you're just going to go and say she's done all these other things and talk about what she's done. If that's the case, cool. I'm fine with that. It's the... Go ahead. Please tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't think that you're wrong, except for when you look at the timeline of Lara Croft, the games that came out on Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, those games quote unquote reset the timeline for Tomb Raider.
It did.
So those were her first 3 missions. Now, the movies that we know with Angelina Jolie, those technically take place after that. So
okay.
there is a long timeline of Tomb Raider that can where you can fit different stuff in.
I'm just upset at Tomb Raider because the original Tomb Raider looks just like Angelina Jolie.
I mean, it does. That it does.
Never make that so perfect ever again.
No,
that is very true.
So, and Chris, you're right because it follows. So the 3 games is Tomb Raider, Rise of Tomb Raider, Shadow of Tomb Raider. That's the 3 current games on Xbox right now and PlayStation as well. Even on PC, you can play them. They're following after Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which is really, which, like you say, that it reset the timeline of Tomb Raider when they redid Tomb Raider 1 in the current trilogy. I'm
Because
okay
everybody
with it.
thinks that was something anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So
That's new Tomb Raider.
correct.
The new
So
story.
I'm interested to see if they do this right. The one thing you have to get right with Tomb Raider, and it's the one thing I think it's hard to get. If you get this wrong, it's gonna be terrible. The way Laura Croft acts, her accent, body language, that kind of stuff's gonna have to be on par to make this feel like an actual good show to me.
Now that I do agree with.
Because if that's all off, the rest of the show is gonna feel so weird.
But let's take a look at it this way, because technically the most recent movie that they did was supposed to be a remake of the first game.
Correct, it is. It is supposed
So
to be a game.
and for the life of me, why would you try to make a one-to-one recreation of a game? Like, that's just one of the things that shouldn't be done. I'm sorry.
Well, and they didn't remember. I went to see that movie. I remember that it's not a full one-to-one recreation. They do some liberties with things like how she gets the double pistols, how they do certain things about her father and her lore, so they kind of change things around. But it's almost like they literally took that first game and just redid it, but changed a couple different actions to make it feel like something new. Ultimately, with this, I don't need the backstory from the beginning. So, like, don't give me her, like, if you're gonna give me like the first couple episodes, don't give me her backstory. I don't need it. You can reference it, but you don't need to show it. That's on me. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off the first time, Deon.
No, now I'm curious. Because I personally think I would like that. Give me Laura Croft, how she became Laura Croft. Because we always get Tomb Raider. She's already been, for lack of better terms, a BA.
Yeah.
How does she become that? We get tidbits in the movies of her like training and stuff, but
it's a. Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say that would be an interesting take, like, because the rise of the Tomb Raider is how she becomes Tomb Raider, but becoming Laura Croft is a whole nother level, because Laura Croft is what's iconic, not Tomb Raider.
Right.
But here's the thing: the title of this anime is going to be Tomb Raider: The Legend of Laura Croft. So if you're right, that means they're going to follow Laura Croft's journey, not the Tomb Raider stuff, tomb raiding stuff. I hope that's the case, but we don't know. It's the same problem we have when you play Tom Clancy games. Rainbow Six Siege. The same problem you have when you play, because you have to have the Tom Clancy name in the game.
Yeah, but all the stories they sync up together, but they don't have anything to do with each other.
Correct. So they can be off time. The Tom Clancy part doesn't make sense half the time. It's like, okay, fair.
If you read a Tom Clancy book and then play like Splinter Cell, like I did one year, don't ask me why I did it like that, but it's really interesting, because I swear when I played the game, I knew what to do, where to go, who to talk to, all because I read the book.
All right, so call me a nerd, because I read a bunch of Tom Clancy books. But since you did this too, could you envision yourself as being the main character when you were playing it? Like, I'm a nerd. I was literally in my living room with my Xbox controller with the lights off. Like, all right, if I move this way, then I know I'm gonna get shot because there's supposed to be somebody right around the corner. Like,
but see, that's the one exception where one-to-one media actually makes sense. In this case, I don't think it was ever a thing of like the one-to-one game to media ever working together with Tomb Raider. I think there were books at the time, but the books didn't match up with what the game was going to do. Or half the time, the books in the game have different ways of getting certain situations. it's gonna be one of those things where I'm okay if they do a little bit of her backstory, kind of say how she started becoming a Tomb Raider, how she, if they even do the flashback, the foreshadowing of like, here's her at being a legend. Now we're gonna go back. We're gonna go back in time and see how she became that legend. That'll be fun. It's gonna be interesting how they take it because they can take it multiple ways. They could take it multiple ways, and it's gonna be different. I will say this right now, for me personally, I give that more confidence though I didn't give the Batman one. I give that when it comes out like a 10. I'm more inclined to watch that because I'm like, okay, I know of the games, I know of the story. That should be fun.
You know what though? I think animes based off of video games get more credit than an animated show or a superhero made anime. Like Iron Man or something like that, where they or Wolverine or X-Men, where they created animes for it. I'm less inclined to watch those than I am to watch video game based animes because, for one, it's a video game. You don't have a lot of like reference points outside of what you play. You know, even with what is the one where Tom Holland uh in
Uncharted.
Uncharted. Yeah.
I
Uncharted
was
series.
more inclined to watch that as a movie than if they were to do uh a One Punch Man live action. And I know that the Uncharted movie is garbage in comparison, and One Punch Man might be dope, but it's also like, how do you do that?
Okay, I'm gonna take it one step further, Deon. Here's the thing. With like Iron Man, Batman, I can go down a list of things. Here's the thing: a better superhero show for me, Shy, and only because Shy plays with your emotion. Shy plays with the emotion of being a superhero. The funny part about the other ones, they don't really play with the emotions because they're supposed to be these grandiose people. Tomb Raider is supposed to be this archaeologist who can just a BA and can do whatever whatever she needs to do. Good example of that for me right now, Yokohama Family. Only because it feels like a spy show, but it also feels like something like you could put, like if you did a Tomb Raider, like if they have to go find like do a tomb or something, it's actually a natural like, okay, I can see that being the
You
case.
know, we are forgetting the one game slash TV show slash anime movie that is a perfect example for everything that both of you guys are saying.
Which
Look
is
at Halo. Halo has an anime anthology series that is well regarded, while the live action show is kind of not as good. But the game in itself, okay, so but the game in itself is legendary.
and see, in that case, I agree with all three. I agree with all that assessment because this live action show, many people have said, is pretty trash. The
Because
anthology
pretty
series
much,
is great.
yeah, like pretty much the Halo series is a complete replica of exactly what Dion was saying.
Yep. Perfect comparison. You made the live action movie, didn't care to, or live action show, didn't really care for it, gave it a chance because it is so iconic, and then was completely
Mm.
disappointed I didn't even make it to the end of the shit.
But the Halo anthology series,
You said what?
the Halo anthology series, have you seen that?
The animated one?
Yes, the animated one where they show like the Spartans, Master Chief, and
Yeah, that's the one
it's
the movie is supposed to be based. The show is supposed to be based off of.
Oh,
no,
it
I don't think
was.
I don't think you've seen it, bro.
Are you talking about? Yeah, when they were in like the desert and they got like the all the Spartans are now there, but they were.
Well, one of the anthology series was seeing a samurai face off against a elite.
But you also, it's a funny thing. It's funny y'all talking about this. Here's one of the small problems we kind of figured out. Did you notice in all three of those versions you gave us, Chris? Nobody could talk. Nobody talked to the other person to see if they could help each other out. That's also the downside with this, because you can make multiple versions and they can all do different things, which doesn't really help any of the property as a whole. That's the other problem with it.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead.
Halo Legends. That's what it's called. That's the anime.
Oh, yeah. Halo Legends is the other one. There's the anthology. There's there's Legends. Yeah, and it's funny. Legends actually, the anthology series and Legends are both good, but the live action show is just not great, and the games are good. I don't know. Like would I ever want to see a day where we're starting to pull from, like, if I ever got an Uncharted series down the road for anime, would I want to see it? No. Would I want to see Indiana Jones as an anime? No. But you're at least building the groundwork. If this Tomb Raider one does well, you can at least say, okay, I can see doing Indiana Jones down the road for like a one-off try and see if it works. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, I'm fine with that. But I don't think you need to start, because we're getting to the point where they're going to start doing all the major properties back to back to back.
Now, the only show that I can see them doing if Tomb Raider does well, and I would actually give a nod on this one, is if they do Indiana Jones anime.
That's the only one that was the only one I'd give a nod to. Indiana Jones would be the only one.
I can't. I'm sorry.
It's a nod. It's not saying I'm gonna like it or not, but it's like at least I seen it.
You could get away with it. You could get away with it with Tomb Raider. If Tomb Raider did well, you said you want to make Indiana Jones, I could see that. Get away with it, fine. But it's just not like, I'm not gonna be super hyped for it if it doesn't do well. Like, if it's people say it's not great. Not great, fine, cool. I'll put it to you this, ladies and gentlemen. These are two different shows. With the Batman one, all of us are kind of like, not caring. With the Tomb Raider one, we're all like, okay, we can see it. We have an idea of what we want to see out of this, and we're all like. And here's the other problem. Here's the other thing about the Tomb Raider one. We've all played the games, and we've always seen one or two of the movies that's based off of. So we understand the context of what they're trying to do. At least the material's there. They're going to use that material for some part of it.
Yeah.
With the Batman one, there's material there, but the material's not great. Like,
right. And it's like, where do we draw the line?
Oh, that line is broken, Deon. That line's already gone.
I mean, what's next? Crash Bandicoot?
Please, God.
do not put that on the universe, because that can be an actual thing later down the road. They can do that.
Because they already did it, bro. They already did it.
They did it. Didn't they do like one-off? They did like a one-off episode thing about it a long time ago.
They did. No, they introduced him in a special episode of Spyro. So
yeah.
But Spyro is, I mean, he's a character in what's the game? It's a game with a bunch of them in it, and they're.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like that's not give them any extra ideas.
Yeah, it's like, man, like we gonna have a Super Mario Smash Bros. Anime in the week.
I like I told you before when we talked about this too. There's nothing off the table anymore. There's nothing off the table what they can do with anime. They can literally throw anything in the anime and see if it works, because they know if it works, they can get a whole new fan base to watch anime and go back to the older stuff. So they do not care if it doesn't have a cohesive story or whatever. As long as it hits.
I give a message out to all my anime watchers, all my real otakus, like weeps, everybody, right? Can we stop watching anime for like 2 weeks straight? Just don't mention anime. You can still watch it secretly, like go incognito, whatever. But let's unpopular. Let's make anime non-popular for just a little while, so people can stop making anything anime. Like, let's do that for a while, right?
I mean fair. I get
as long as there's money to be made from it, bro.
That's the other problem. That's the other problem.
But we're not making money as viewers.
We ain't.
We're making money. So let's chill on that for a little while.
We ain't. But here's the thing: no matter how that works, no, you could stop watching for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You could stop watching for a month. Here's the thing: the content machine doesn't stop. Here, and that's the other problem, because people will still make content of anything to see what will work. If people didn't post on Twitter for a week and a half, 2 weeks, it wouldn't matter. Things would be turning out left, right, and center.
Tell that to Vine.
There's the one
Go for the
exception.
ball.
There's the one exception, and Snapchat probably the other, but there's still
Okay,
that.
most social media networks, MySpace, Vine,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
Facebook now is fading out if Instagram wasn't around. So
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But let me know what y'all think in the comments about both these shows. I want to hear what y'all think, because this is actually genuinely going to be something. If these two shows work out, we could see a brand new. I'm gonna say genre, not era, because I can't say. I'm gonna say era. I'm gonna say genre, in the sense that the genre would be more akin to video game adaptations, comic book adaptations, that kind of genre, that type of genre. Because I think that's where we're headed to eventually, where we're gonna have a lot more of those video game and comic book adaptations. But let's get into these anime charts. These are for week 8. I will say this right now: this chart from Anime Corner is amazing. I have to give them credit, because this chart actually does a really good job of something. We will run down this top 10, and then we'll talk about the other chart from Reddit that Chris always has as well. So let's get into this. I'm going to start off with this. Windbreakers at number 1. Dead Alive Date Alive 5 is at 2. Go Lose Rangers at 3. Konosuba is at 4. Mujinshi Tensei is at 5. Kaiju number 8 is at 6. Demon Slayer is at 7. Black Butler is at 8. The Apothecary's Dilemma, How to Love Elf Bride is at 9. And Chilling in Another World with your level 2 super cheat power is at 10. Chris, what do you think about this chart?
Windbreaker, deserving. Data Live, not surprising. Go Loser Ranger, hello, stepping up. Konosuba, what happened? Jobless, okay, staying in a Kaiju 8, still top 10. Demon Slayer, not top 3, not the top 3. Back Butler, not surprising. Archdemon's Dilemma, okay. Lit Chili in the World War, surprising.
And I will I'll point this out. So Windbreaker went up 1 spot. The Data Live 5 went down 1. Google Ranger went up 2. Konosuba went down 1. Jobless stayed at 5. Kaiju number 8 went up 7 spots. We'll get into that because I got no such words. Demon Slayer dropped 3 spots. Black Butler went up a spot. Dilemma went up 3 spots, and Chilling in Another World dropped 2 spots. I will say this: I feel kind of bad for one. I feel bad for 2 shows: Konosuba and I think Demon Slayer. And I don't think the Demon Slayer one's Infotable's fault. I think the Demon Slayer one is the one that I think is kind of funny, because Demon Slayer, people knew this arc was going to be short. We knew this arc was going to be really nothing. But ultimately, I think the thing about this arc is that Demon Slayer arc it's not this huge thing, but it still has a good storytelling around it. So I don't think they want this action, which we talked about before. Kaiju, not Kaiju, but Soul Leveling was all about the action.
No, supposedly.
Yeah, which had a good story. I'm gonna ask you both this. Y'all have both watched Demon Slayer. Do you think that people are just waiting till we get to the castle arc for Demon Slayer? Because that's gonna be where the bulk of the action is gonna be.
The manga readers are.
Yeah.
And I've read the manga. I've read the manga, so I've read to this point and past it a little bit, but I haven't got to the castle arc.
I want to say I don't think they're waiting for that necessarily. I think they're waiting for it to pick up.
In what sense? Because we know it's not really gonna pick up anytime. Well,
we
it
know.
picks. We also know it's not gonna pick up anytime soon. And even if it does pick up, we know it's gonna stop at a point where it's like, oh, we're just gonna tease you with something. We're not gonna.
But
like,
if you
full-
haven't read the manga and you're just a Demon Slayer watcher, you don't know. You just
That's
know
fair.
Demon Slayer released a new episode. What is this one about? What is, you know, I was talking to someone not too long ago about a different anime, an older anime, and they had just started watching it, and they were like, "Man, I don't know too much about anime, but this one is kind of boring." And I know because I've watched it before that it gets good in like the second or third season, but
Yeah.
it's like as a person watching it, you wait 2 or 3 seasons or 2 or 3 arcs for it to get good. You're probably gonna lose interest in it. So with Demon Slayer, they're not watching it knowing it's going to get good in 2 or 3 seasons or 2 or 3 arcs. They're watching it thinking, when is it gonna get good?
Okay.
That part.
It's
Okay.
like
On
how
the
I feel with Jobless.
there we go. I was gonna
I
ask
don't
about.
watch anything else about Jobless. I just follow the actual anime. I'm like, it's garbage.
I was gonna ask about Jobless because Jobless sits at 5, but also people could say Jobless the same way. Jobless is super slow right now,
Yes.
which is not surprising, but the story is trying to tell gets you to that point. Um, I'm gonna ask you this, Chris, and I'm gonna say this. I feel bad for what I'm about to ask because I think it should be up here, but it's not. Where is it at? Because it's on this list, and it's kind of funny to me. Oh, here's 2. I'll say. Train to the End of the World is at 35. Should be higher. But the one I'm going to talk about at number 24, Slime. That should at least be in the top 15. It's 24. But
I'm
is
not
that the same? Is that the same issue with Jobless where it's super slow, Chris?
In my opinion, yes, because just like we talked about earlier, a lot of these shows, because they have an intricate story, need time to kind of cook. They need time for it to let things go. Need to talk about the mysteries. Need to give you information. I mean, now granted, you can do a scene that gives information and action, but would you really want that 100% of the time? Think about that, because at that point, your
No.
story doesn't have depth. It doesn't have any kind of meaningful anything to it. So, I mean, honestly, you have to kind of ask yourself, what are you looking for in a show at that point? Because
Correct.
maybe this just
Correct.
isn't your style.
And I would agree with you, Chris. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't cut you off.
No, I finished.
I would agree with you on that last point. I was with you until you said that this may not be your style, because anime like Demon Slayer, Jobless, Slime, what's another one? What's another one? I don't know. I'll leave it with that. They start off with a certain type of style, and we know as certain people who watch and actually do research that they're going to get back to that style. But as a daily watcher, like with me and Jobless, I'm like, what happened?
Okay, but then look at stories like Fearings, Beyond Journeys, whatever that, whatever.
Beyond
Yeah,
Journey's End.
that's just yeah.
Yeah, I get where you're going. Okay. Yeah.
But at least it
Like,
started out like that. It
but
started out at the end.
that's the point. That's the point.
Jobless started out with a sword and magic and high energy, and now it's all mopey and sad and trying to make people cry every episode. Like it's
But let me ask you something. If you weren't attached to the characters the way that they are, would you really feel that way about the show?
absolutely, because I'm not attached to the characters. After half of the world got blown up, I was like, yep, nope, I don't care about any of these characters anymore, because I need to see what's really going on. And then Rudius, that's what I'm gonna call him right now. he's, he's a different person than when we first got him.
So I take it you're not current.
I am maybe 2 or 3 episodes behind.
Oh well, then this conversation is over then.
Well,
And what's
I'm
the
quick.
difference? What's the difference? Because I don't care about spoilers. What's the difference in his characteristics?
It gets better because he builds back into friendships with people, and
But where's the action?
They
Where
build back into the same type of story they had for season 1.
correct. They get back to that point. And here's the thing. I would totally agree with you, Deon. Here's my thing, and I'm gonna say this with all due respect because I respect both y'all so much. The show me and Chris been watching, God the Game We Play, started out slow. The middle part of it's been kind of like, oh, they've been doing a couple battles, a couple things. Then they found a couple new partners. They've just found a girl that's going to be in their party now, up to this point. Then we had one of the coolest, like, gamified boss battles I think I've seen in a show in a long time. And it was so much fun because the way they did it got you back into we know this is a game. They have to win games to get to a certain point. And you just made a game more interesting.
that's cool.
Like you have to give them time to kind of build the story out.
Because
But why?
people playing
Why do I
poker
have to give them time to build a story that was already started? With
Correct.
God Games We Play, this is our first season.
Okay,
that's fair. That's fair.
With Jobless, this is the second half of the second season.
And here's the other thing. I would normally also agree with you on that point. But I think the downside to that is something we both talked about. Me and you both liked solo leveling. Chris didn't read the manga. Here's the other side of that coin. Ultimately, you're going to have down periods within a show sometimes, or change tact, or change genre, or do this or that and the other. It's sad.
Akame got killed, didn't
it? Didn't, but it did slow down.
when
Akame that killed did slow down.
when
And about the middle part enough to where you could understand what the character were going through. I'm not saying it slowed down in action because the action was still there.
exactly it stayed a consistent style of anime from beginning to end.
But it was also a 1-season show.
Correct. They could do that with a 1 season.
Assassination Classroom. Stay
2
consistent
seasons
from beginning to end. I mean, we're only in the second season of Jobless.
No, wait a minute, because Assassination Classroom is definitely slow in the beginning and up-paced in the end on both seasons.
Stayed consistently, and it did grow gradually to be more energetic, but it was still a consistently gradual change. It wasn't like overnight everybody just stopped studying and was like, oh, let's go play basketball for 6 episodes and then we'll go back to something up. Like,
okay,
consistent.
Okay,
Work on basket, consistent from beginning to end. It's the same style. I'm not saying we can't change up tactics within the anime, but it still has to stay that anime.
And here's the thing I'm gonna say with that then. And this is another show I think I'm gonna say this with. And even though I'm gonna say it with this show, you might think I'm crazy. Vampire Diaries. And let me explain. Because you're gonna think I'm weird.
Vampire Dormitories.
Let me explain.
Yeah. Oh God.
No. And Chris, you're gonna hate for doing this.
I blame
here's the thing, and I'm only bringing this up because I think it's one of the few shows that do it well.
They do well.
Okay. let me finish. I know we'll be all thinking, looking like I'm crazy right now. You want consistency? I get it, Deon. I get that. Here's the Vampire Dormitories have been consistent. Yes, there's a plot.
they have.
Is the plot been weird all the place? Yes, but here's the consistent things you know. The main character is is a woman. We do know that as fans, as the people watching. The vampire guy and the other guy. Those are your three consistent. Everything else around it can be different. Oh, and the head of the vampire dude is also consistent. Like, guy that was the guy. Huh?
The butler guy?
The butler guy, yeah, he's consistent. So those four are consistent. But everything else around it can change. And I think the thing is, they have had points where they do a lot in episodes. I know the last episode me and Chris watched, they did the one of the twists I've never seen the show do, by the way. And
Deon, I wanted to shoot my TV with my shotgun.
Man, I had to stop watching it. My creep radar was going up. I was like, oh my God.
So
see, I'm not the only one.
Okay.
Not the only one.
And I watched Undead Unluck. And I was like, oh my God.
But here's the thing. What I told Chris, it's a Twilight story. They're playing off Twilight. And ultimately, even though they're playing off Twilight, the one thing I knew about the Twilight books, the way the series was, it is a very slow series. There's not much action in Twilight. I'd have a few fights that happen between two groups. But I think the thing is with Vampire Dormitories, they're playing off Twilight series without the action parts, but they're still having the conflict between these two guys. And it's still working because you still have other people playing along with that conflict. The butler dude. You had the other girl walking on our main vampire. You had all this other stuff. And even, I'll bring up one more point to make this even more solidified for you. Kaiju No. 8 is the other one I'll say.
Oh,
we've only had 3 fights in Kaiju No. 8, technically. 3 major ones. Everything else is in story for the most part, outside of a few other things.
Now, see, Kaiju No. 8.
Huh?
They have been consistent, even with my gripes. They've been consistent with my gripes from day one.
That's fair.
To now.
That's fair. That is fair. I'm just saying it is hard. It is hard for a show to stay within one genre because I don't think a show can anymore.
I mean, but we're only in the 2nd season of Jobless.
But see, I didn't expect
Wait, though. Pause. Because it's only in its 2nd season, and it hasn't even finished with its 2nd season. You're saying that the consistency for the first half of the first season of the 2nd season is, if that's the only drop point in action, is one part of one season instead of the whole. I mean,
we're in the second part of the 2nd season, and it's still extremely dry.
Okay, again, you haven't seen the last 3 episodes, but
are they any more action packed?
Yes.
Than the first season?
Absolutely, yes.
They're more action packed than the stuff in the first season.
Correct.
So we're 3 episodes. All 3 episodes.
Yes.
Okay.
And here's the thing. It's funny we're talking about this now. What was the one thing everybody talked about when Solo Leveling came out? All they wanted to see was the action, no storytelling. But here's the problem: if you did that, none of the stuff would make absolutely no sense. If you did Jobless that way, where it's all action, very little storytelling, most of the action makes no sense. Good example of that, also Remonster, which has gotten to a point where now I'm like, okay, y'all done a thing I didn't expect, but Remonster.
Oh, and I'll even do you one better. The one that Deon, you yourself said it had nothing going for it. Ninja Kamui.
There we go.
See, here's the thing with Ninja Kamui, though.
There we go.
Ninja Kamui didn't have anything going for it for me from day one.
That's fair.
Jobless, I adored Jobless first season. Jobless is giving me MASH energy right now.
Oh. Whoa. Actually, that's actually not a bad take, but I can see why. I can see why.
People love MASH's 2nd season, and I guess people are liking Jobless 2nd season. Me. Go ahead, B.
I can see why you say that because a lot of people don't like the one thing in Jobless that we've gotten a lot of lately. It's a lot of talking.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the conversations back and forth got people bored. And even a guy I follow on YouTube said if they did another conversation after this, after a certain episode, I think it was 2 episodes ago now, people be like, okay, y'all done a little too much talking. Get back to it. They finally did. But even then, or for slime, not Jobless, I said the wrong show. For slime. And Slime's gotten back to it, but it took a bit because they had to get through all the dialogue. They had to get through the dialogue stuff, but it took a lot of dialogue to get there. And I think that's the thing. Like, people get bored by dialogue. The only show that doesn't really bore me by dialogue is one of the few shows that didn't bore me by dialogue. Ultimately, it's Dead on Death Play, and even Hell's Paradise, because they will literally go at points. This doesn't matter. This doesn't matter. They won't say it out. They won't say it outright, but they will go, hey, this is just random conversation now. Don't even really care about it. Till you get back to the point of, here's actually what you need to listen to.
In Slime's defense, and this is the only thing I can say, we're how many seasons in?
This will be 3.
With how many shorts and of the diary series and
Yeah,
stuff.
so they've added other content around it.
Right, yeah, we've got enough dialogue, heavy episodes in most of the stuff. It's like, do another diary short and explain everything, and then go back into what Slime is about.
Okay.
Now, with Jobless, we don't have any other reference point besides the first season, where even their conversation pieces were lively. Now we have this sad, well, I don't know how he is in these last 2 or 3 episodes, but we have this very depressed, sad episode after episode after episode after episode. And it's like, bro, this is General Hospital.
Well, I would invoke a show, like, actually, I'll do it anyway. You're sounding like it's like ER at that point, but
yeah,
that's fair. Okay, all right.
What's the Grey's? This is Grey's Anatomy.
But here's the thing, and I will give you this, and it's funny you mentioned that. Think about the fact that with Jobless started out talking about really male-centric topics. It is flipped around It's flipped around. Think about this. Slime deals with a lot of more, like, not Slime. Slime's not a good example of this, but, like, I think good example of that for me for this is like Kaiju No'8 deals with somebody who's very old, or older, like 32, and how he's dealing with trying to get into an army that he can't really pass. Vampire Dormitories is more female centric. That's the thing. They are catering to different genres.
Yeah, they're definitely catering.
But that's the thing. Slime slightly has switched its tack, or not Slime, Jobless switched its tack to more cater to more female generations. Because the stuff in the beginning of season 2 were more, like you say, savvy, more General Hospital kind of things, but it splits back partially to give you more of that upbeat.
See, my problem with Jobless is the same thing that I had a problem with Kaiju, where you give me a character who is one type of way, and then you change them with no real explanation of why they're reacting this type of way. For Jobless, you've already started with this shed-in, depressed guy who is already supposed to be used to rejection and just negative at life, right? And then the first time something happens to you negative in this new life, you act like it's never happened to you before. This is what you're supposed to be used to. You're doing this entire second season over, like, you've cried for 7 episodes over this female, and then the first episode you meet another person that you were supposed to be in love with before none of that even matters anymore. So we just watched 7 episodes of you crying and being heartbroken for no reason.
I will say this. With all respect to everybody listening. We're all friends. None of this is out of the ordinary for any of us, because ultimately we all see different tacks. One thing about this chart I actually agree with this time around, unlike past times we've done the seasonal chart, this is one of the few times the charts have actually indicated what people actually are watching for the most part. Because Windbreaker wouldn't be at number 1 if that was the case.
It deserves it.
Definitely.
Like Windbreaker wouldn't be at number 1. You wouldn't see like Demon Slayer sitting at 7, Go-Go Little Ranger sitting at 3. Like it's kind of like Kaiju number 8 sitting at 6. Like that tells me people are watching certain things. And ultimately, before we get to the episode 9 for Jobless, get that up. It'll be episode 57. Chris, go to the other chart for me real quick. I want to read that out to us. I want to see if there's any similarities.
Oh boy. So check me out. Starting at number 1, Jobless. Number 2, Delicious in Dungeon. 3, Konosuba. 4, Kaiju number 8. 5, Demon Slayer. 6, Slime. 7, Spice and Wolf. 8, Jellyfish. 9, Go-Go Loser Ranger. And 10, Girls Bands Cry.
And see, the only thing that's different, Jobless isn't at number 1. And that's probably because of watch stuff. It's for watching time, watch time, people actually watching. The rest of that list basically mismatches Konosuba, Go-Go Loser Ranger, Kaiju number 8. You got Demon Slayer is not even the top 10 on that side, which is actually kind of fun. That's not surprising.
Here's Windbreaker.
Windbreaker's on top. So that tell you, yeah, people might be watching Windbreaker on this side, but it also might tell you people aren't really watching Windbreaker. So it also it gives you the weird thing of like, okay, what's really going on here? I will say this. I don't think it's terrible that both charts are so different. I think the thing is, and if we're almost at the end of spring season, I can't really invoke this yet, but I'll slightly invoke it. This is probably one of the better. This is one of the best seasons we've had of anime in a long time.
This season is definitely stacked.
In
Very
the
much.
As I complain about anime, I complain because I'm a critic. But this season is definitely stacked.
Which is scary to say because that tells me then if this season's stacked the way it is, they pretty much got what they wanted from this season. You got people really thinking about what's actually good and what's actually not.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
Because I'm looking at Demon Slayer and Slime, more specifically these two. But I know me as a dub watcher first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a lot of these anime aren't doing as good per episode because people are waiting to watch them dub?
It could be plausible.
I know that Demon Slayer and Slime, that's what I'm speaking of them specifically, have a higher dub watching fan base than a lot of anime.
Well, because the reason why Demon Slayer takes pretty long before they kick in their dubbed. I think last season took like the first like 6 episodes before they kicked in their dub. This season's only 8 episodes, so it doesn't really matter.
And a good example of that is Black Clover.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It'd take them 15 years to
It'll take a while.
Right, but when they did come out dubbed like this, they're coming out all dubbed on Netflix now. They're gaining a lot of popularity.
And that's how Demon Slayer was. When Demon Slayer got released on other platforms, Netflix, Hulu, they came out already dubbed for the most part because the dub were already released by then. So for people who solely get Netflix or who don't have Crunchyroll accounts and stuff like that, they're not even able to watch half of these episodes. I know, like me, who don't watch anime on Netflix, I can't watch Delicious in Dungeon without going to yeah. So a lot of this stuff, I'm not gonna reveal my sources, but a lot of this stuff, could it be just based off of people not having access to it or wanting to watch until dub? Because that's why I'm behind on Jobless. I'm watching it in dub.
Oh, you're watching dubbed. That makes sense because you want to know the context. That makes sense. It's interesting. You would be right, but also look at this list. I'll give you 3 off the top of the head that I know that are so. Kaiju number 8 in English. We have God's Game we play in English. We have Monsters in English, technically. Like, it's weird. The stuff that's in English isn't like the strongest stuff. I would say that right now, if Windbreaker was straight in English right off the bat, it'd probably do a lot better. I
Well,
would
Windbreaker
say
was so good. I started it in English, and I just had to keep going and
in the
and sub
Japanese,
because I was like, I need to see what happens next.
because the Japanese,
Konosuba was the same way.
yeah,
Chilling in Another World, that was the same way. I'm like, I want to see what happens next. I didn't feel that from things like Jobless and
I think the other one, big one here, even though Go Loser Rangers 3, I think if it was in English, I think it would do a lot better. Because Go Loser Ranger has that.
It has a lot of context that needs to be said in English in order for you to
Yeah,
understand it.
there's context clues that you're missing if you don't have the English. Because you're like, oh, they meant this, but they're looking at this or doing this. It's like, okay, I don't know. It's gonna be a thing. If history is showing us anything, I don't think sub is gonna ever go away technically.
no, and it
But
shouldn't.
No.
But I think sub is going to be not the preferred for a lot of people anymore. We've also talked about this on the podcast. We talked about that on a previous episode as well. You can go check that out.
Let's normalize. I'm sorry, I'm using my Gen Z language here. Let's normalize releasing sub and dub same day.
I think the only thing with that for a lot of these shows, they don't have the manpower or the ability to dub out an episode as fast as coming out in Japan. So once again,
However, with the advance in technology, though, it's not hard.
it's not hard. It is there. You can do it, but you need the people behind. You need the people to
Let's
push.
give some of these low brand, no named voice actors who are looking for work on a regular basis, the time of day,
Oh yeah.
who and our technology is well enough that they can get it done.
You could also do things too, like I know
Mainly me, hire me. I'm voice actor.
I mean, ultimately
Give us.
there's things you can do, and that's the thing. Like, there are things you can do, but also we've learned about this, like learning about this from I follow a voice actor who's a streamer who also does VTubing, but she and her friend talked about this in like a podcast form, and they talked about the fact that they're always looking for people who are older, who play older characters, because you might age out of a character, things like that. They're also looking for younger characters because you might age out. But also, it's a thing they're looking for. These studios and things are looking for specific voices. But ultimately, if you audition multiple times, they might find something that fits you. That's the other thing with English voice acting. It's kind of hard to match some of these characters to the actual age of the character you're playing as. But also, if you're an older person playing a younger character, you're gonna have to. If you can play the younger voice, it's easier.
Man,
All that to be said,
Ketchum was played by a 60-year-old female.
yeah,
We can make some things work.
Yeah, like that's, you're not wrong. It's like, but that's the thing. The guy who played SpongeBob was an older dude, and he did a very good job playing SpongeBob. Charles Martinet, who plays Mario in most of the games, was a very like it. It's a thing of how fast are you trying to make? Do you want to make this sound one-to-one perfect, or are you just gonna rush out the English and not really have the context about what they're saying?
Yeah, and I think that goes to the character too, because how do you basically you're giving a voice to the voiceless. So what are you even matching? The Japanese voice actor?
Yes, usually they usually not match, but they usually will have to. I think I've seen or heard that they use they have to kind of match up how the Japanese voice actor talks, and then
Because if that's the case, can we rehire our voice actor for Goku?
Hello.
Yeah, they're like
I'm just saying it's been done where you can just get a good voice actor for each genre. I mean, who cares at this point? Most people who watch dub don't care to watch it sub, and vice versa.
And most people will never meet. And most people will never know who the English voice actor of a certain character is. Like, ultimately, I love the lady who plays Daki in Demon Slayer. One of the best voice. She did the best voice for that character because it's just the way she plays it. When I went to Demon Panel listening to all the English voice actors, I was like, man, I see why they picked y'all to do this because y'all sound pretty much like the characters. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, Tanjiro's voice actor. He has the same voice in everything he plays in.
Correct. The guy in Windbreaker, because I told Chris this before we go on to the episode for tonight. The guy in Windbreaker who plays the head of that group, the Green Jacket group.
Oh, Goju's voice actor.
Correct.
Sorry, did I just steal your moment?
No, you're good.
Oh,
no, you're good. But that's the point. It's Goju's voice actor, but he's also like Chris looked it up. He does multiple things. He's on multiple things and multiple characters.
Yeah.
What's the same voice across the board?
It's the same.
It's like okay, cool. That's a good thing.
Vegeta's voice actor.
Yeah.
He does a lot of voices, and 8 out of 10 of those are Vegeta's voice just changed a little bit.
And I found out something for Kaiju. I'll talk about it after, and it's actually really interesting. But we'll talk about with this new episode that's gonna blow y'all minds. But y'all see where the charts are headed. You see where we're gonna get to. We have 4 weeks left, so these charts are gonna change again. That's a good thing. I think these are the first time we always say these charts will solidify. Oh, they haven't solidified at all yet. I think they're in the weirdest spot because they are so bouncing around.
We also got that jump in the middle of like season 4 or episode 4 where we started getting episode 1s again.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
so we got a lot of new stuff coming in around the episode 4 mark. So now we're getting the genres up and up. But I do hope you have Slime episode 57 up. We're about to get into that. This episode was interesting. This episode answered a lot of questions, but also I called something, and Chris actually agreed with me on this. I called things that I didn't think I was going to call, but we'll get into it after that. So in a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we'll get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
No. Sorry.
It did.
My computer went to sleep. Yes.
I would say, now don't the what are you current with Slime? I'm assuming so.
Yes.
Bro, don't the Knights remind you of another anime?
The Knights.
The Holy Knights.
Who do they remind me of?
Because they just happen to have another short character with spiky blue hair.
Are you talking about a short character with
A certain character from that is also part of another group of swordsmen that's in a whole another anime.
Yeah, and this short blue character ended up losing an arm.
Yep.
Yeah, and has dragon wings.
Wow.
When you describe him like that, he sounds super cool, right?
Yeah, yeah, he does. That's okay. That's fair.
But it just so happens to our audience, there's the group of 7-day swordsmen kind of reminds me of the swordsmen from Bleach.
Especially like the captains.
Mm-hmm. It's
have all the
specifically
captains. Yeah. And then they all have their little quirks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although I will say the captains from Bleach will mop the floor with these guys. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hands down.
contest.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
You got the episode? Oh,
Yep.
perfect.
Okay. So 3, 2, 1. Let's go. See, Chris, when I said that she was getting ready for war, I was like, she's laying down the piece, like getting ready for war, and you're like, wait, no, he's not. And then I see the line he says, okay, there we go. It is weird how that scene jarred with me a little bit.
Yeah, he had planned to go to war, and then he was like, you know what? Heck no.
Wait, he was hired to kill the Archbishop?
Hmm.
Leave them as gifts. Like, we getting out of here.
We're leaving. You can have the new hunter, and we're just gone.
Like that's just in the message though. Like this guy who was hired to do this is leaving.
Huh. It's funny. The only characters we haven't seen is the kids from the school yet in the season.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna come back. I don't.
If they do, it's gonna be. I hope it's probably at the very end.
They're
They're
probably gonna be
gonna,
the very end.
they're gonna be adults. They're gonna be super powerful adults by the time we see them.
They're gonna at least be teenagers at that point. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, let's make this fight look like it's actually fair.
Oh, we haven't seen her Midna or her demon crew yet, or the guy. Wow, there's a lot of characters we've missed out on. There's a lot.
Yep.
There's still seeing the
Slime
background.
still has a lot to cover.
Man, there's so many characters. We're getting a fourth season at this point now.
Oh, we're already scheduled for 6.
Wow.
That's fan news, not
That's not official, but yeah.
yeah.
You, by the way, you're a very bad king. For being a king, you suck. Well, he does. He about to get mollywopped in a second.
He's a new king.
He only wanted it because he didn't want his own brother to go give the kingdom to that other dude.
He's arrogant, and that arrogance is what. Yeah.
You seen what happened to the last arrogant king?
Yep.
That was his brother. Yeah.
But at least the brother bowed. At least the brother's like, I'll give up the throne.
That was after he humiliated.
But
Correct.
how many lessons do your family have to learn?
Well, now that is the question. Yeah, look, there he is.
Oh, this is where we learn that they go out in the. Okay, that's where we get that meetup at. Of these outfits. And that's where he's talking about Diablo, basically.
That would suck to be a soldier having to walk miles on miles with heavy armor on.
That would kill your feet.
Y'all both said something different.
So I just said while these dudes riding horses.
Exactly. And you're right, Brandon. They would have no feet.
No, your feet would be like bruised on the bottom, all that because you're wearing metal armor with no padding.
Mhm.
I love the fact you're having a meal while in the wide open.
Wasn't he supposed to be looking for him?
Yep.
Don't give a demon free will like that, because that means he can do whatever he wants.
Especially not this demon.
No, this dude's not worth that.
Because he walks right up to the front door.
Up the front door and not without a care in the world. Chris, Deon, I never got this part. You have the knight standing there with the spears. Go after him. Don't just stand there.
Nobody wants to make the first move. They know what they're going with, who they're up against. They know better.
Well, see, now his ego is because he got those demon
Holy,
slayers back there.
yeah, he
And he
got those
got
knights with
demon
him.
slayers and holy knights like that. His ego is showing. That's all.
And you're telling the truth that they messed up. You're telling a lie because that did not happen.
Or he don't know what happened. Just spouting nonsense.
I feel bad for the media here because the media is just writing down what they're hearing, or reporters in this case. I've never said gave up defeat in my entire existence. I love her line. Will he really though?
Nope.
So basically saying I have a strong influence of water, electricity, earth. Yeah, anything else. Basically saying nothing's gonna stop me.
Yeah, he just realized who he is.
Yep. Yep. He
So if being under Rimuru allowed him to evolve into a daemon like that, what kind of being does that tell you that Rimuru is?
Rimu's gonna get some level to where it's insane.
Well, you know he was getting granted those names and stuff. So
Yeah. Wait, did you not just hear the man physical text will not work?
Apparently not.
Elaine just runs. She is gone. She's out of this picture. And there's a giant dog in your way.
you want to go demon slay anyway? He had facing off with your king.
Yep.
It makes it worse that his name is Gaston. Like, really?
Yeah, I love that. They gave him the
One
game
fight
Gaston.
like Gaston.
He's just running roughshod over them.
He's really just having fun. Nothing else to do.
You thought he would have killed him.
Really sad doggy.
And they all run away. That did absolutely nothing.
See, this technically is a scene right out of Bleach somewhere. Now you remember it. She didn't even want y'all there.
Nope.
Yeah, with the freeze frame like that and everything. That's the scene from Bleach.
Yep.
And y'all just walk into the picture with no reason to be there.
That they're strong enough to take him.
If only they were aiming at him.
They're gonna burn all the evidence.
Dummies. You really thought they were. Mm, mm, mm.
Nope. What y'all asked her to do. Just jeez. That episode, ladies and gentlemen, was good, but also so what's the word I'm looking for? The ending of this is weird.
Twisted.
Yes, very twisted. So we're gonna go through it. I'm gonna let Chris do the honors because this is a show I have him keeping up on. You can do it in 3 parts, Chris. You can do it however you want. Let's get through it. Let's get through this. Then we'll get to Kaiju.
All right. So basically, in the beginning, we're like, okay, Brandon, you put me on the spot on this one, bro. It was good all the way through.
Yes, it was. It was very good all the way through.
So coming into it, we're looking at this dude's base, and he's thinking he's all set up and glamorous, thinking he got it going on. Man, so he's even talking to the holy mages. Well, firstly, okay, I skipped over the whole part. See, in the beginning, there was the guy who actually killed the Raheem Archbishop guy. He's basically coming to know who Rimuru is and who the demon is. It's like, you know what? It's time to go. I need to get on out of here because I don't want to be nowhere near what's about to happen up here. And then we get to this so-called king who thinks he's big and bad. Then he's sitting outside eating lunch. Like, bruh, you in the middle of getting ready to go to war, and you think it's a good idea to sit and eat lunch, but he has no idea how bad his army was massacred. So, mm. And then Diablo just flies right in. The dude starts spouting all this nonsense like, yeah, y'all guilty this, and then Diablo just kind of sit there like, and then he messes up when he talks about Rimuru. And then he like, okay, I've had enough of this crap. Either basically it's the equivalent of saying nut up or shut up. Okay, because he was like, dude, you think you can get over your fear of me? And then proceeds to what to these dudes come out, they try to fight. He's like, for real, this it.
So
Basically, he doesn't even like inflict damage on them, just literally scares them. Like, bruh.
basically, these ninjas are supposed to be these like elite fighting force that we hear about at the beginning. That this was the gift they left the king. That was supposed to be able to take down anything. Yeah, like Chris said, they get scared, and then they're just like begging for their life at this point.
And so at this point, we're looking at two different battles happening. Because once they get down, now Diablo is fighting the two holy knights. But so when they start to think about that, oh, we may not be able to take this dude. The other girl just goes, she runs for it, leaves dude there by himself. Wow. So she's not even a team player. And then when we get to it and look at the other dude, they send the freaking Aranga after the whole 5,000 troops. Ranga just literally runs through them, like literally, and he's just having a good old time. I mean, he literally looked like he was just mowing the lawn, bro. He just going, but and then finally at the end, he's literally just tossing this dude back and forth like a yo-yo, like a horizontal yo-yo. That's
I mean,
literally.
he's playing with the guy like a ball of yarn at this point, like a cat playing
Yeah.
with yarn. It was that kind of like, okay, he just having fun.
And then finally here at the end, when we start to tone up the seriousness a little bit, these seven bishops come out here, and during a fight with Diablo, they turn their firepower towards the reporters. It was like, oh, now that got real quick. And then when we switch back to the fight that Rimuru was having with Hinata, then we learn like, oh, they're responsible for that too. And right now, nobody can heal Hinata. Like, oh shit.
I will
That's
say
the
this.
whole episode.
That is good job. I appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. I will say this. The big things from this episode, one, you learn about Diablo being this all inclusive, like one of the stronger demons out there. But also, you learn how he's so loyal to Rimuru. He is loyal to Rimuru to a T. He doesn't want to hear anybody badmouth Rimuru. On top of that, he literally just goes ham in that first half. But then on the back and forth fight we had between Diablo and one of the Holy Knights, that fight was just fun. And also, the one thing Chris didn't mention, but basically Diablo's there not to kill him. He's not supposed to kill him. He's not killing anybody. He pretty much tells reporters to stay back and puts that barrier up. So he's basically just there to get information. They
Pretty much.
started the fight. Why are you starting a fight that you can't win? This episode does
That
really good. Yeah. You're right. You're right about that. I will ask you this, Deon. What do you think about the fact the twist at the end? Because now we know the clerics did all this. The clerics did all this stuff to make sure this. They wanted him to the dead anyway. They pretty much said that prior. But
Right.
then you kill the reporters, basically pretty much covering up the evidence. And then you meet Rimuru, and they come and say, we're taking Hinata for violating our rules. By the way, the rule you wanted her to do to kill you.
But the fact that she is like dying in his arms means that they're taking that as, oh, y'all were friends this whole time, so we're gonna kill y'all both.
Correct.
It's basically they sent her to die. They wanted
Yes.
Rimuru to kill her.
Yes.
But because they were not confident in her ability or his ability or her ability to actually fight, they knew some point in time they could end up reconciling things. They got to come in and what's that best phrase? You want something done right, do it yourself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the problem. So there's three in
Pissed. That's the problem.
Rimuru's pissed. Diablo's like, okay, this is the real reason I came out here. He even says,
Diablo's pissed because now he knows who messed up his plans. Oh, he's pissed too.
Correct. I if they show both of these fights, I'll be all right with that. And please do, because I want to see what Diablo's going to do against these clerics. Because Diablo I don't think he has enough power to beat these clerics naturally. But Rimuru against these clerics are also going to be fun because Rimuru has some power and he can probably mess these clerics up pretty easily. And the other thing about all this, I think the funny thing, now her Hansa's own people know she was set up this whole entire time. This officially shows that she was set up the whole entire time.
Yep.
But they're killing witnesses, so
they ain't gonna kill her, man. They're not gonna kill her, man. Because they kill her, man, then you really know it's a setup, and they're not doing that. They're not
I
crazy.
mean, but they're tying them up and trying to make it look. They're making it look like she was at fault. So they're still coming out scot free.
Yes, they are. Yes, they
Yep.
are. It's weird. I'm gonna say this. I'm looking forward to episode 58. They have done a good job of where are you gonna take this next? Is Hunter gonna die? Are we gonna see the characters win? Where does this end up? Or do they come to some agreement or truce for now?
I'm disappointed.
Why?
We don't get to see how it really ends with Rimuru and what's her name?
Hinata.
Hinata.
Yeah. We don't really get to see how that would even end.
Truly, I think they're gonna have a fight down the road, a legitimate fight down the road. But I think it's gonna be.
I think this is gonna solidify the fact that they weren't supposed to be fighting in the first place.
Correct. But I think what they're gonna do is one of those weird tropes you can do where you can go, our first fight got interrupted. Our second fight, we didn't know how each other were communicating. This last fight is just for fun. We're just gonna do it outright. Just cause.
You think they're gonna fight just to see who's stronger?
Correct.
You think she has that much ego?
I think Hinata want to know.
Oh.
I can see them sparring.
I'm not like, and that's what I more say sparring. But this they legitimately spar just to
So
see.
this is a Goku Vegeta moment.
Correct.
Yes.
What
Correct.
you're saying.
Yeah. Where they just do it out of.
All right.
They just do it because hey, we want to spar with each other after we became good friends. Because I think for now they're gonna become Fire figures out the way the healer, and then they fight off the clerics, and the clerics go bye bye.
I think he just kills the clerics and breaks them free.
But Rune's gonna need some help.
Because he can't heal her. He's a demon.
But the clerics. But your thing, he can't fight the clerics by himself either.
You don't think so?
You
don't think Rimuru could take those? Because remember, and this is why I'm saying that. In the beginning, she said she's stronger than all 7 of them together. She has the ability to fight all 7 of them.
Yes, Hinata said she could beat all 7 pretty easily.
Right.
Correct.
So
I think Rimuru could. The thing is, I think it's one of those things where if they got her people on the cleric side, then no. If they don't get her people on the cleric side, then yes.
Okay, but we're forgetting that Rimuru is still surrounded by his generals.
All his generals are still there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the other problem.
He still has Benny Hamaru there. Like, dude, he's enough firepower by himself.
Right. You have Benny.
Not to mention
the lady.
Everybody else is still close by. Diablo.
Correct.
The old man.
The still dog.
Just
the wolf. Yeah. The wolf gets there. Yeah, I mean, this fight's gonna be interesting because you could have a real out battle if you really want to do it correctly.
And we still haven't seen Rimuru actually get pushed.
No, yeah, most of his fights it's simple.
Like we've seen him fight a demon, and he wasn't even in his form. He was pretending to be somebody else.
Yep.
So
I'm gonna ask this question to both of y'all. I'll start off with Deon for this. Deon, what do you episode 57 of Reincarnated Slime as a rating?
6.7.
Ooh, explain.
I want to see more.
Okay.
I want to see more. This would be a very good episode if the next episode is great.
Okay. I can see it. So don't
get me wrong. You get a lot of goodness. Episode just packed with consistent slime mentality from the beginning to the end, but it doesn't even really pick up where the last episode left off, and it gives me more questions now to how things are going to end for the next episode. So it's
okay. Chris, what would you give Reincarnated Slime for a rating? Do you kind of agree with Deon in that sense, or do you want to see next episode, see where it goes, or do you think it's a little bit higher?
I put it this way: this is a 7.8. It's slowly and gradually climbing this ladder. Like it's one of those shows I've been saying. You just gotta let it cook, and now that it's finally cooking, you start to see the steam come. And I mean, but just like the one thing I do agree with Deon is that it does raise more questions. But but from experience, me and Brandon know, and I'm sure Dion knows too, is that when you giving it time, it's going to deliver.
Especially with slime. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is the one where I'm going to be like, okay, you gave us a couple questions. I know you're going to answer them pretty much within the next episode or the episode after. You aren't going to wait too long to answer those questions. It's the thing of, for me, the one big question I think a lot of people were kind of miffed about, and a lot of people talked about this. They wanted to see what happened to Hannah right away, but this episode leaves it to the end, which actually is a good idea because, like, she got hit, she got shot with that blast.
Well, this episode doesn't even do that because really, you just see her at the end. And
yes, you do.
Hurt.
She's still hurt, so you're not going to see what actually is happening to her at this point.
And that was one of my things. Like, it doesn't pick up where the last episode left off. It leaves you like the last episode already left you and like, oh my god, no, hurry up, go to the next one. And then
this one only this one doesn't satisfy the urge of what happened. Instead, you just compound a story like, oh shit, there's more happening in one part of the show.
Yep.
Right. They did it well. I just wanted to see
it. Yeah. Oh yeah. I would say ultimately for me, this would be. I'm between both of y'all, so I'll say 7.5. Right in between of both of y'all. I think I want to see where next episode goes. If next episode really gives us a lot of those answers, like what's going on with Hannah, can she be healed? If she can't be healed, do we have to be the clerics? All this stuff, and just give me those answers right up within the episode. Cool. If it takes an episode or two, I'll give you some leeway because I can give Slime that leeway because they will answer eventually.
Yeah.
Just if you go longer than 2 episodes, I'm like, okay, we need to answer that before it gets kind of stale. But let's get into Kaiju number 8, episode 8. And I will say this right now. I have to give Kaiju some of the biggest credit in the world because Kaiju, you've done something that most shows can't do. You've done a thing where I think you've done a good job making a show that's got all this hype around it. And yet you've stayed pretty down to earth for the most part, which is actually kind of surprising. But I think that's because they know where they're going with the show. They're trying to make sure the show has some hitters.
I do have a question for you, both of y'all, before we start this.
Okay.
Do you think the pacing of Kaiju 8 is almost the same as Slime?
Not at all.
Oh, kind of, but not really. Explain, Chris.
The reason I'm asking this question because they both took a little bit more time to build up. How the only difference is that Slime has much more episodes to pull from. However, this one is slowly building its season the same way as having mystery, giving you a little bit of answers, but still giving you more questions.
Okay, I can see what you're saying, but yeah, I mean, I think they know for Kaiju they have to build the characters up, so that's the one thing they're doing first before they really deep dive into everything else. Cool. But that's also different because most shows do the reverse. They would build the world, everything around the world first, and then the characters. But it's each I think that's why these shows are so different because I think Slime did the world first and then the characters, and that's why the character kind of.
Yeah, I mean, Slime, you kind of grew with your characters, and in every few episodes they added more people. They took the traditional route.
Yes, they did. I think Kaiju's trying to take that traditional route, but they're doing it in a way where they're doing the people and not really much of the world around them. In some cases, they don't even talk about the world, but in the other case, they might say, "Oh, here's something about the world real quick," and then just kind of go on. It just depends. I don't think it's 1-to-1, but I think it's more Slime has a base already. Kaiju doesn't have that base to build off of.
Exactly. Okay.
So in a second, I will say 3, 2, 1, and then we get going. Gentlemen, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So in 3, 2, 1, let's go.
This is probably my favorite intro of the season.
Oh, it's a beautiful intro. Is it the only English intro we have this season?
I think so.
Yeah, there's nobody else that has an English intro, I don't think. Man, that Kaiju looks good.
Mm. Now, keep in mind, we was watching Kamikatsu, and we saw that, and versus that, it was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows you can't go full out against the vice captain because he could hurt him.
Yeah, and he don't want to kill him.
But at the same time, the vice captain gonna go full out on him. And by the way, that gives us every kaiju has a core.
Yep.
Is he pressing a button to do that, or is he just naturally doing that?
That's what we don't know.
That looks Oh, he was definitely done. He was busy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you already do. What are you gonna have to? What are you gonna do about it?
She likes him.
You know what's funny? Yeah, she bosses there, which is actually kind of funny.
He's right though.
Yeah, she is right. She took a picture of him.
Of
He's
him
gonna have
sucking.
Lois. Yep, that's awesome. And the funny thing here, he should put two and two together pretty quickly. Because the line he says, I fought like a human. So he knows it. He know. I will say this is one of the coldest scenes I think I've seen so far in this season.
This scene is pretty messed up.
I don't know why you stopped your car. I would have kept driving. I would have got around him.
This was a scene straight out of Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah.
Attack on Titan.
Yep. I love that little prank comedic. I love the fact they didn't know he was sitting there already.
I wonder if it's gonna be one of those things by at the end of the season, everybody just gonna have figured it out.
Yeah, that's what I assume too.
There's not.
There is not. I love that. I love the fact they tell the fact that the guys, his parents own the top defense, uh, defense force, anti-defense force where they build the suits.
But you know, I'll wait to the end.
Oh,
This is what happens when everybody started drinking.
yep.
What a
What they
way to
do.
show character growth amongst everybody at the same time.
Correct. Oh, I love this. Wait, do you say a yearly tradition? That's kind of bad.
Every new crop of students.
That's a plot point now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Did he hear any of that? Yep. There we go.
Xana supported.
Yep. Very much so. Don't drop him. Ow.
At least he said 50 and not 100.
Yeah, at least you didn't say 100. He's still working.
Mm-hmm. But he ain't the only one.
Nope. I love how they did this scene. They replay the mission in its mind. Yep.
Now I wonder if he's saying that because he's trying to see how he's reacting.
Yeah.
Dang.
I love how he does a chokehold to him, basically. And the most ominous thing happens.
Here we go again.
Yep, there, next fight. I'm gonna make this really simple because basically this first part is just a this first part is we get to see Vice Captain and Kaiju No'8, which is Kafka, finish off the little fight. Vice Captain kind of gets a couple hits on him. Kafka's like, oh man, he's strong and fast. I kind of have to dodge. I don't really want to hurt him at all. Um, basically, Kaiju No'8 gets away, and he finally, everybody figures out, oh, he got away. He says that Vice Captain says over the radio. Also, you hear the blonde hair girl go, well, like he got away, but you know, he'll come. You know, when he comes back, I'll have to kind of berate him. He already know. She already kind of knows what she's gonna tell him. So he comes back. It's like, you got kind of lucky. Are you okay? And she kind of, are you okay? He's kind of falling out, and he says, I'm sorry, but you know, I have to go see how each cow and them are doing. What are you gonna do? You can't really do anything in your state right now, and they're fine. Don't worry about it. Then they have this party. This party is for, or they go to the hospital first, see the guys. Ichikawa talks about, Ichikawa talks about, I'm glad you're safe, sir. And Kafka's like, that's my line, kind of breaking the tension. Then he kind of mentions that, oh, thank you for saving us. Why'd you go after this? Why'd you use your thing? Not knowing that purple haired guys in the room with them, or pink haired guys in the room with them, going, oh, yeah, didn't Kaiju No'8 save us? And he was really good. He decapitated the other kaiju with one punch. Um, yeah, and why is he like so giddy? He's not giddy. He's just just happy that you're doing well. Trying to play it off because they don't really want to tell him that he's Kaiju No'8. Like Chris said, eventually everybody's gonna know. We kind of figure that's gonna happen. Everybody's gonna find out some way. Um, I like, and then this kind of leads into the party where the green hair guy's family throws a party for the guys getting well and everything. This party has some really nice wagyu beef, and they put all the beer and things, and the guy's having a nice little dinner. And the guy's like, "That's why you left it to him." She's like, "Why? That's why you left it to him, because you want to throw a nice thing for them." It's like, yeah. He's like, "Oh wait, his parents on the anti kaiju force. They make the suits." Oh, his parents are loaded. Kai Kafka did not know that.
That brings me to the thing I was gonna bring up.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny how so when she shows up on the first day, she has her suit on, which means that she and her family at least had enough money to get her own personal suit.
Correct.
Now, why didn't he show up the same way?
I don't think he was going to. I think
But
that's not his mo.
yeah, but they said there's some kind of strife between him and his dad. So
Correct. Correct.
yeah,
So then Ichikawa hears all the people talking, and he's like, "Why are they all arguing things?" And the guy comes and says, "Listen to them." And they're still kind of arguing, bickering, but they're working things out. And the little lab lady goes that like every class before it, every class argues and kind of thinks through things. Like Chris said, they're all getting drunk anyway, so it doesn't really matter what they're all out of it for the most part. They're focused, but they're out of it in the sense they're just kind of at each other. Then we see number 9 walking into this tunnel where this like road is. The car stops. The car kind of like tells the guy to get out of the way. He doesn't. Walks back towards the guy. Number 9 does, but then number 9 pretty much just eats the guy, takes over his body, and becomes this dude. And ultimately, what we see after this is they go back to the party. Kafka gets to be a full officer now in the defense force. Everybody starts cheering. Everybody throws him in the air. We had the conversation before that with the guy who makes the food and the green-haired guy talking about the father. That is a plot point for later, so I think that plot point's going to happen down the road. But then we see the former soldier walk past, and he kind of like, did he hear any of that? He doesn't really care. Walks off. And after they throw Kafka in there, you see the green-haired guy and the soldier talk, and he's like, I just want to make sure everybody gets back alive. Which is assuming somebody's going to die at this point.
Because they keep hitting it somewhere.
Correct. They keep hitting it somewhere where he's like, I want everybody to live, but somebody's going to die. So we have a hunch somebody's going to get life past. Kafka gets his new officer's suit. He puts the captain puts on. He says, I'm here to defend and protect, the land and everything. Kafka says, and I'll leave you two after a while. He's about to walk off and she goes, you're not there yet, but you'll get there. You still promised me about be by my side, right? And he's like, she did remember, and he says, I will. He says her name fully, not captain, and she's like, do 50 push-ups. He's like, really? And then he does the 50 push-ups. Next time we see number 9's driving in the car. He goes, hears about what's happening. They're trying to find number 9, all that kind of stuff. He's like, I need to make sure I can stay in this body. So he has to acclimate this body before he can do anything to get after number 8. The last thing he does, and the last thing we're going to see in this last half section is ultimately it's Kafka studying. The vice captain, he sees some light where like a little training room is, and the vice captain's going through the whole battle that happened prior and trying to figure out how he can win. And then when he sees Kafka, he says, why are you still up? And he's like, I can ask you the same thing. I'm trying to figure out what happened in the battle. So next time I face him, I just take 2 hits and slice his head and be done with it. And then they kind of go back and forth for a bit. And basically, I'm going to be by your side, Captain. I'm going to do whatever you think you need. And he's like, with your 100% power, and he kind of chokes him out. And he's like tapping out. And then the last thing we see is like, at least you're 1% behind me. So I thank you for that. And he says, now get some rest. Yes, sir. He says Roger and leaves, crawling on the ground because he's like out of it. And then we see in the sky all these bird-looking things and this other kaiju on top of one. And that's where the episode ends. Chris, what do you think about this episode?
Man, so from beginning to end, this episode was a nice roller coaster, bro. Like we come back in to finish to finish what we started from the last episode. Like he starts in coming in on a fight, like, and it's a high intense fight, so energy's there. And then when he finally escapes from the fight and we finally get back to the story, they actually keep it a nice comedic mood throughout all the way to the final end. And then the end's almost of that bittersweet moment, like we know one of our characters might not make it at the end of the season or whenever, but with these last few moments of this, and we knowing that the show itself is coming to an end pretty soon.
Yeah,
I don't know. This is getting kind of high stakes.
Yes, it is very much so. And we've already fought 2 numbered kaiju. We've already fought 1 numbered kaiju. We've already fought a bunch of hanju and another big beast thing. This is their second technical fight. I see where Deon's gripes are, and he stepped away for other reasons. But I see where Deon's gripes are. I get why he says the gripes he does. There's one big one I think is really kind of obvious now, is why the Kafka thing is going to get even more interesting. Is Kafka going to really still use his merits, or is he going to finally turn into a kaiju? We don't know, but that's something for down the road. Outside of that, that's the only one I can see. But like you said, Chris, the show is amazing. It's cooking. It's really getting there now. I can't wait to see where it ends up. So I'm asking you for this now. What would you give Kaiju number 8, episode 8 for a rating?
Gonna give it a 6.4.
Ooh, explain.
Bro, the show is good and I like it, but I think at this stage of the season, I would expect to know a little bit more than what I do.
Okay.
But I like what they're doing though. Maybe they could be trying to stretch this out for the long run, maybe 3 or 4 seasons, and it's just the pacing of the show. I can accept it as long as I hear the announcement for season 2. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I would have to go a 6.8. And I agree with everything you said. Everything makes sense. If we get an announcement for season 2, then I know it's a slower burn. I think we will get that announcement. I think we are going to get that announcement. We're pretty much guaranteed it because I think this show is actually doing pretty well. The same thing with Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling was going to get that announcement eventually because it did so well. This is the same thing. They air this on Saturdays. It's live streamed on Crunchyroll. They're putting the marketing behind it. It's actually helped them in this case because it went up 7 spots in the charts. I don't really know what else you can do outside of like just this next fight. It's going to be the biggest thing, and then after that, you're going to have a little low period of what really is going on. Does people find out he's a kaiju? I think so. Other than that, what else can you do? I don't think there's much else. And that will end up this season. The next season, we get into other stories about the kid and his father and other things. Her dad. There's other stories we can get into. The vice captain and the captain, for that matter. But I'm enjoying it. I think it's one of the sleeper hits. It is worth a watch. It's worth watching in English. I think the English for this is actually really good. The guy I was talking about earlier in the podcast I listened to between two voice actors, he voices number 9 in this. So that's why it was kind of interesting when he actually talked about it on the podcast, and it was like, oh, you voice number 9. That makes sense because that's actually a really well done voice for the English dub. So they got the market, they got the thing behind it. I just want to see where it ends up in the next, maybe by episode 10, where it really hits. But that was episode 57 or 58 of the Anime Dojo. This was a pretty good episode. This was a lot of stuff we talked about, covering a lot of different things. I hope you all did enjoy. We are thinking about splitting these up, but let me know what y'all think, because I think if we keep them the way we are, people do watch them in over time, and they do get views over time. If we split them up, just new stuff, and then they'll watch alongs, I don't know how that's really going to do, but we are thinking about it. But I do thank you for watching. Hope you did enjoy. I thank Chris for joining me. We'll be back for episode 59 of the Anime Dojo with episode 9 of Kaiju number 8 and episode 58 of Reincarnated Slime. This will go up on Spotify right after it processes, and it'll be up on YouTube on Thursday. Do thank you for watching. Hope you did enjoy, and hope you for next time. See you.
Later, guys.